Score tickets to the biggest games and concerts in town, from the Minnesota Wild to Santana, the Doobie Brothers, Chris Stapleton, and more. Your chance to win is waiting. Enter now at KFAN.com, keyword contest.
Hey Nordo, hey PA, this is Matt in Minneapolis. There's only one thing you need in baseball to win, and that is to be a coastal market with deep pockets and owners willing to buy the best athletes, get the best TV deals, and beat up on quadruple A teams like the Twins and whatever the Athletics are. That's how you win in baseball.
Yeah, that's thank you very much for the talkback, and it's our current leader for the Northern Fire Barbecue Talkback Prize Package winner at the end of the radio show, Ben Goessling, Star Tribune, StarTribune.com, at Ben Goessling via X. We have the podcast, Access Vikings. We have the ever controversial newsletter, and much more. And that answer right there, Ben played up a question that I set up an hour and change ago for some talkbacks. And I asked Chris Finch the question on Friday, and we played his response, where, like, winning at the highest level consistently.
Yeah.
In hockey, it seems you have to have the right goalie.
Right.
In baseball, you need to have the right pitchers. But in the biggest game, the right pitcher's probably going to make you favored. In football, it would be quarterback.
Yes.
Okay. In basketball, what do you think it would be?
I tend to think the point guard. I mean, in terms of the NCAA tournament, if we're thinking one and done, a guy that can bring the ball up, can run the offense. I mean, that's a very quarterback-like role. And I mean, in a lot of ways, these positions are, it's singular in the sense of a goalie and a pitcher. A pitcher obviously is kind of leading the defense in a way that a goalie is, but a pitcher is the person that initiates every play on the field, and a point guard kind of has that role. I guess a quarterback takes the ball from the center initiates it technically, but the quarterback's the one calling for the snap. So there's that level of, I'm the one that's making things go. I'm the one that's controlling the tempo. I'm the one that's kind of the calming influence. I would typically go point guard, but, as the game is spread out, I would think it's probably more guards. I mean, I have obviously grew up in the 90s in the era of Hakeem Olajuwon and Patrick Ewing and David Robinson and Shaquille O'Neal and all these centers. The game has shifted a lot since then. So I even thought then, I mean, I grew up, living in Southern California for a few years. So I was a big Magic Johnson guy. And so I fell in love with the point guard back then. Yeah. And I think I would still say it's the point guard.
Yeah. Finchy, he went down the road of, you have to have the right superstar.
Okay.
And
which can be the guy that brings the ball up.
Correct. But the right superstar, to paraphrase what the head coach of the T-Wolves said, was who galvanizes others.
Yeah.
So the right superstar has tentacles to it. Enough defense, enough ball handling. And then he's like, defensively, you have to have the right rim protector. Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting in this day and age because, they're like Oklahoma City. What makes Oklahoma City so tough to play is Holmgren and Hartenstein, especially Holmgren, Minnehaha Academy go crazy. Yeah. He protects the rim, but he hits threes.
Yep.
So he's the right kind of rim. So it's like right kind of are keys to that equation. I met Johnny Hecker at the Minnesota Vikings facility yesterday. From afar, he looked like a cross between Carson Wentz and Dave Portnoy.
He's a big dude.
I saw him walking down the hallway. I thought, is that Carson Wentz or is that Dave Portnoy or is that Carson Portnoy? So I met the punter who passes yesterday. Will you find yourself in any way missing Ryan Wright?
Well, I thought Ryan Wright had a heck of a year last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I guess Ryan Wright is also a punter who passes. He did it in London in 22.
Yeah, he finished 1 of 2, 13 yards. Yeah. And we got this top of our heads
because Jalen Naylor for a first down.
For 13 yards. Yep. In London on a gotcha play against the Saints special teams coordinator, because like I think Matt Daniels explained it to me years ago, they saw something enough, and then like if you put guys in motion, they put guys over here, and they did it with Naylor, and they got 13 yards. that was it for Ryan Wright. 1 of 2, 13 yards.
Yeah, that play, I remember being fairly pivotal in that. I think that was the double doink game in London. But yeah, I mean, I thought he was awfully good last year. The money he got was not probably something they were going to chase. But yeah, I mean, Johnny Hecker has been an all-pro punter, has been a guy that as a holder comes with fairly high repute. He's a guy that's fairly well trusted as a holder and seen as one of the best in the business there, which was going to be it was going to be a piece of this because Will Reichard, with the year he had, they wanted somebody that was not going to disrupt that operation that much. So yeah, I mean, I think Brian Wright, off of the year he hit the market at the right time.
Do you think they'll let Johnny Hecker pass?
There may be something in there once or twice, I suppose.
Right.
I mean, Kevin O'Connell would have history with that. Wes Phelps would have history with that in terms of seeing him do it. Matt Daniels has coached him before. So it's probably, it'll come up in a meeting, I would guess.
That always is such a tricky equation when you have a quarterback who throws.
Yeah.
But you have a punter who passes too. And I don't know if I think maybe his last pass was 20. It's not that far away, but it doesn't happen as frequently as it used to. But when you execute plays like that, and if they don't work, I mean, that's consternation within the covenant,
right?
Like second guessing. Why did we do it? Why did we work on it? Why are we having this guy throw when we got this guy? It all depends on how the season's going.
Yeah, the whole fake punt thing is interesting in this day and age when you see teams go for it more often. And the situations where you would go for it are probably, there's a wider bandwidth of that. Yep. So, like, I haven't looked into this in great detail, but I would be curious to hear if the fake punt or the appetite for it is less because teams are like, yeah, we'll go for it on a fourth down a little more often. And you're just saying, we don't need to try to trick anybody here. Let's just put our offense out, put our best on best, and say, let's try to go get a first down. So, yeah, I would be interested this seems like a conversation that would be good for a Matt Daniels press conference at some point. He's usually up for a philosophical, kind of take out some guardrail and talk conceptually about the shifts in the game. So I'm interested if that is something that's different as coaches go for on a fourth downs more often.
Does the learned scribe have a take on more 2-point conversions and fewer extra points? And this is age old. I mean, it's not age old from like the new Rockney days.
Yeah.
But like something popped up within the last 20 years or so being like, if you're at the 40 or whatever between here, you never punt, you go for it on fourth down every time. Here are the percentages. And then there were, before the extra point got moved back when it was at the 10.
Yeah.
I mean, it was loud, like over the course of time. It's a long, it would be a long winding sample size would be required.
Yep.
If you go for 2 every time, you will benefit more than you don't.
Yes.
What do you think of that?
Well, it's the same math of going for it on fourth down. It's you look at the benefits of it over time and say the benefits outweigh the risk. I mean, all of this stuff is, what are my percentage chances of hitting it? What do I gain if I get it? What do I lose if I don't? I mean, it's, with all due respect to the old GM, it's an economics model. It's what's your cost benefit analysis, what's your opportunity cost, what's the risk of doing this, and I think a lot of the math is on fourth downs. Yeah, there's enough upside to this that it's worth the risk. You're going to benefit from it more often than you're not. Now you got to be able to get it. You got to be good enough at it. But I would think it'd be the same thing on a 2-point conversion where it's double the points and are you more than double the likelihood of not converting? I wouldn't think so. So I think as you do the math, as you come through it, you'd say, yeah, I mean, there's going to be risks at times, and there's certain times where you say, no, this doesn't make sense to do it. But the general move has been, once you apply the math, the old approach with coaches of we have to be super risk averse because if we miss it, everybody's going to be mad about it, and people like me are going to be asking questions of why did you go for it here or why did you go for 2? I think as the conversation has shifted and people are paying more attention to the math actually makes sense here, that conversation probably reduces the risk too. Coaches are famously risk averse and famously worried about the one time that something doesn't work the right way compared to the 85 or 90 or 99 that it might. So I think as that conversation has shifted, you see people praised more for being aggressive with it and being innovative with it more so than being mocked for being risky with it. I think all of that has changed.
Late last week, DeAndre Hopkins kind of low-key begged to play here with Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
It was some TMZ thing. I know they've been balling on a budget, as it was put to me. I don't know if they're still balling on a budget.
Yeah, they are.
I don't think
I mean, cap-wise, they are. Unless there's a Brian O'Neill extension that's hit in the last 5 minutes.
Max is broke, but he's dope, but everybody's broke. DeAndre Hopkins, should they consider?
I mean, it's a guy that has a history with Kyler Murray. It's a guy that obviously has had a lot of success in the NFL. I think the question would be, what's the role? But, a guy that has been that good and has that connection with the quarterback and I think is as reliable in red zone situations as he is. I mean, it would depend on the cost. I think all of this would depend on the cost.
Yeah.
But,
it can't be that much, can it?
No, it can't. And they lost Jalen Naylor. Adam Thielen was acquired to play some of that role. Didn't quite go that way. But they need wide receiver depth. There's not really like a third on the roster right now that you're saying, okay, this is the guy that you just completely trust in. I mean, maybe it's Ty Felton. Maybe he grows into that. You could look at probably an addition here or there in the draft. But yeah, I think if you said this is a guy that has a rapport with the quarterback and can still play and wants to play relatively affordably, I don't see why you wouldn't look at it.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong here. At this stage of his career, DeAndre Hopkins would not be considered like super fast, right?
No.
Okay, but see, that's kind of fine.
Yeah.
In this equation for the amount of plays that spot would play with Hawkinson, being, say, pass PC, not WR3, PC3, pass catcher 3.
Yeah.
Because Jefferson flies, Addison's fast.
Yep.
Then you got Hawk doing what he does. So, like, from an intermediate, middle of the field, middle zone, infatuation, red zone, all that. I mean, it's like Hopkins is right at the end, but I can't say he doesn't fit.
Yeah, a guy that can body up a corner and catch a pass in a goal-to-go situation, catch a pass in the red zone, a guy that is, on a underneath drag route that if you're looking downfield and you need something that you trust, I think there would be some value in that. I mean, again, it would depend on what he's looking for financially, all of those things. But, I think there could be some intrigue there.
The Carson Wentz deal, according to @Ben Goessling, is 1 year, $3 million.
Yep.
1.1 million signing bonus, 1.5 million for fully guaranteed. Then we got some like roster stuff and all that.
Yeah.
Why do you think they closed when they did? Why do you think this took place now when generally situations like with Carson, it was at the midnight hour last year.
Very much so.
And there aren't a bevy of openings around the National Football League, but there are openings and there are some other 2 spots that are available. Why do you think it happened when it did?
Well, I think they want him in the building. I think they want more time to work with him. I think he probably saw there would have been a benefit to having more of the offseason to be in Minnesota versus trying to come in on the fly and learn everything. I think he clicked well with the coaches. I think there is a trust level in the way he prepares, the way he can kind of work in that room with other quarterbacks. I mean, a guy that has seen a lot of different offenses in addition to having been in this one. I think they valued the perspective, and I also think he wanted to be here. I mean, he talked about this a lot last year. This was kind of a dream scenario for him playing for the team that he grew up rooting for, growing up in North Dakota. So I think there was enough interest on his part, too, of this was a good fit for me last year. This is a place I want to be, a team I want to play for. Why not come in and take the job? I mean, could there have been something else where he's going to compete for a job more possibly of getting the job than he would here? Yeah, then maybe it was that, but he may also look at it and say, hey, I'm not that far away, and they've gone through enough quarterbacks, and it's a stable place for me to be. It's a place close to home. It's where I want to spend my time. So, why not keep myself in the same place rather than bouncing around and switching teams like he's been doing so much.
Okay, so with this Carson Wentz deal, it's like when it went down before I went to at Ben Goessling to get the skinny on what the deal was.
Yeah.
It looked from afar like this is a prove it deal. Mm-hmm. This is one of those $8 million off-season prove it deals that you see. But prove it deals generally don't immediately have a signing bonus of $1 million or higher. This isn't a prove it deal.
No, not really.
This thing's etched in stone, right?
Yeah, I think just about every dollar of it or every dollar that matters is guaranteed. I mean, there's the roster bonus stuff, but the signing bonus and the base salary are guaranteed. So this is not really a prove it deal.
Okay, so with that and knowing Kyler Murray's lot in life, and then this, is there any steam that J.J. McCarthy possibly would want a trade out of here?
I have not heard steam to corroborate that. I mean, I've heard people talk about that possibility that, would he consider that? I mean, I suppose without being directly in his head, it's hard to say that. And I'm sure a lot of people, I don't know that people have talked to him that much. I know he is back in Minnesota. I think he's getting ready for the offseason and kind of preparing for start of offseason workouts. It seems like he has every intention to be here. But, I mean, it's hard to say that there would be a scenario where they wouldn't do it. I mean, if somebody came along and gave them a big offer, then, maybe you consider those things. But I don't think anybody in that building has given up on him. And I don't think that he is blindsided by the idea that they were going to bring somebody in. I mean, they've been in contact with him about that the whole way through. And I think he ended the season kind of aware of that being a reality based on the way that 2025 went for him. So, I would be a little surprised if he's banging the table trying to get his way out of here.
Right.
It's also a place where he could find himself back in the mix. It's not impossible that he does that. He's going to have to be a lot better. He's going to have to prove things to people that he's improved in some pretty significant areas. But no, I don't get the sense that there's trouble afoot at the moment there on the sense that he would want to get out of here quickly.
All right, so with Kyler Murray, okay, so the belle of the ball with quarterbacks this offseason was Malik Willis.
Yeah.
I mean, it turned out to be that way. His former coach brings him down there. He gets a nice big deal. But, Malik still has a lot to prove.
Yeah.
Likewise for Kyler Murray.
Right.
So do you, with the knowledge, and I believe the organization, specifically O'Connell, have talked publicly about there will be a veteran quarterback to come in here and compete.
Yeah.
Do you think it's like Kyler Murray is absolutely the one somebody would want, or is it the best arm that's most accurate, plus we're balling on a budget and it fits?
Yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. And the balling on a budget component of this plays in because effectively he's a veteran minimum player that the Cardinals are essentially paying to be here. I mean, the Cardinals are basically paying him to play for the Vikings. So I think that was part of it, but it's also one of those things where the appeal of the talent, the appeal of the fact that he's still in his 20s. And if you get one of these things again, where the guy on the 1-year deal hits, it's not impossible that they would say this is a long-term answer for us. I mean, I know the fact that, I mean, they let Sam Darnold go knowing that they wanted McCarthy to play, and they also thought they were going to get Daniel Jones back. The fact that they didn't get Daniel Jones back, they maybe misread the situation a little bit, and Daniel Jones looked at it and said, I have a better chance to win this job in Indianapolis, which he was probably right about. But I do think if they go through that situation again, where Kyler Murray comes in and has a good year and kind of reboots his career, they go to the playoffs, I don't think they're going to want to go do that again, where they let somebody go and he goes and, is playing well again and is taking the instruction of the tutelage he got in Minnesota and using it to go succeed for somebody else on a new deal. I would imagine they're not terribly interested in offering that service to another team in the NFL, particularly in the NFC, as they, kind of inevitably did for Sam Darnold. So I think the fact that he's still in his 20s matters here. It's going to be interesting to see how this fits in the offense, but I do think the offense is going to have some different flavors with Frank Smith coming in here. So, there's a lot to figure out in terms of can he play in a, kind of the rhythm and timing type pass concepts that you hear Kevin O'Connell talk about all the time. But they've known each other for a while. I mean, I've learned this over the years that whether it's working with young quarterbacks when he was prepping them for the combine or scouting them when he was in Cleveland or Washington or even L.A., Kevin O'Connell has a fairly deep Rolodex of young quarterbacks. I mean, like he's known Caleb Williams, Drake May, all of those guys since they were like 17.
Wow.
So Kyler Murray is that same kind of thing where they've kind of stayed in touch and watched each other from afar. And I think there's enough of a relationship there. There's enough of a history that it was not just a throw a dart at a wall. I think it was, this can work in maybe a little bit of a different flavor of the offense, but I think there was enough of a background there that it was a fairly premeditated thing that they went and signed him.
You just said something. I'm glad you said it because I haven't asked anybody about it. But you mentioned the name Frank Smith, who worked with Mike McDaniel and the offense in Miami. Mm-hmm. Now, when Kyler Murray, when he signed here, and O'Connell did a Zoom presser.
Yes.
Okay. I'm so glad you said that because during that, it was just kind of a sidewinding, kind of throwaway comment like, and because of some paraphrasing, because of some new coaches we have here, we're going to do some different things offensively. So you know what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
No, but I'm glad you brought it up, man, because that's not a throwaway comment.
No, it's not.
There's something big about this.
Throwaway comments.
That's a good point.
If he says something, generally he's coming from somewhere.
He may lay out croutons, and you're like, okay, well, those are the croutons. No, they lead to the chef's salad.
Yes.
So, like this, what do you think he means? Because you just said something there, too, and use that name.
Yeah. And I've had some conversations with people about this. They are very excited about his voice in the offense. I mean, a lot of the run game stuff that they did in Miami, that Mike McDaniel did, when it was kind of taking the league by storm, Frank Smith was very involved in that. I know there was a lot of intrigue about him speaking into that piece of the offense. Yeah. So I think because of the background that he brings to it, you are going to see some different permutations of this offense this year. It's not just
about ready to get sneaky.
I think it's going to be more diverse. I think it's going to be more eclectic with the run game. I think there's a lot of ideas about how to pair those two things together. I mean, you hear about the marriage of the run and the pass all the time, but I think there is interest in bringing some of what you saw in Miami to Minnesota. And I also thought it was very interesting when Kevin O'Connell was talking about Kyler Murray. I asked something about how he fits in the offense, and he brought up very quickly the process of trying to solve the way teams cover Justin Jefferson and are so focused on taking him away. And he mentioned the running quarterback, and then I followed up on it again a little bit later, and he said, it's something that teams have to consider. And I thought it was really interesting because we have not known Kevin O'Connell to be a guy that says, I want a running quarterback to be a major component of my offense. I think even when Josh Dobbs was here, it was, if the play breaks down, let's extend it or pick up a first down with our legs. But I don't think they wanted to lean on that as a primary part of the offense. And I don't know that that's going to happen here either. But I just think it was interesting to hear it because that comment struck me as a guy who has been banging his head against the wall for 4 years about everybody puts so much attention on number 18 and they're so focused on taking him away. How do we make them pay for that? Mm-hmm. And you add TJ Hawkinson, you add Jordan Addison, and people still do it. Yeah. So I think there's a little bit of let's change the math. If you want to keep two safeties back, that means you have one less in the box. And Kyler now is somebody you have to account for. If you decide you want to play man coverage, nobody plays man coverage against them. But if you tried to do that, then you've got your back turned and the quarterback can get out and run.
That's okay.
So
what you just said there.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is a JJ anecdote a little bit.
Well
Justin
explained.
Jefferson anecdote, I should say.
Well explained.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Kyler's good at recognizing man or zone.
Yeah.
If he is, and it's consistent, or say he's okay at it, and he puts more time into it and gets good at it here, I mean, you know what it looks like, man. If quarterbacks who naturally can run, like Kyler, you break the pocket and you catch them with their backs turned to you, well, that's 22 yards for this guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, right out of the gate, right?
Yeah. There's. I think they're intrigued by the pick your poison element of this, where it's like, fine, if you want to keep all of these defenders on Justin Jefferson, we put him on one side, we roll Kyler out to the other side, and there's all sorts of space over here. And they talk all the time about finding open grass, attacking open grass, finding voids and vacancies. I think there's intrigue about where Kyler Murray's athletic ability could create more of those things. Again, I don't think this is going to be all the time. I don't think they're going to go start running zone read stuff all the time and have him with the ball in his hands constantly, because they have to keep him healthy too, and that's been a big question with him. But you have, Carson Wentz has done a lot of read option stuff in his career too. Not that that's going to be a huge focus at this point. But
McCarthy scored twice last year.
Yes, the one where he graded it in the end zone, they told him not to do it. That was on a read option play.
Well, first game of the year against the Bears, he won the game on a read option.
Yes, he did. Yep, totally. So I think there's enough of that. They've brought enough people in with that skill set that when you see them moving that way, it's like, yeah, it's just one of those things that you kind of file in the back of your mind that this could be a little more of a prominent flavor in this offense this year.
Fascinating. Ben Goessling, Vikings beat writer for the Star Tribune and StarTribune.com. We'll have another segment with Ben next, so don't leave.
Wild fans, this is your season. Experience the energy, the goals, and the unforgettable moments at Grand Casino Arena. Get your tickets now, including to Wild versus Canucks on April 2nd and Wild versus Kraken on April 7th at wild.com/tickets. That's wild.com/tickets to cheer on the Wild this season.
Hey, PA, and this is Brent from Corcoran. With regards to the Kyler Murray coming to the Vikings and the kind of the uncertain future of J.J. McCarthy, I think this is like the exact perfect opportunity we could hope for J.J. to season behind a guy who is even more undersized but plays bigger and learn to understand the nuances of the NFL. Give him time to season.
All right. Benny G, Ben Goessling, 9 to noon. 10:35. Let's see. I'm going to land the Kyler plane here because Ben had some incredibly interesting things to say about the Minnesota Vikings offense, much of what you would get when he and the cast do Access Vikings, the podcast, or we have the newsletter, or at Ben Goessling via X. And, of course, there are the stories in the newspaper or StarTribune.com. But before Ryan Vandemark and some other things that are new, with everything you just laid out about the Kyler Murray threat, the Frank Smith aside, reading man compared to zone and running like the wind and or chasing the wind, there was a lot. With Jones and Mason in the fold, does it make sense to identify running back in the draft Thursday or Friday during the draft? So round 1, 2, or 3, because I came into this being like, Aaron's in and out a little bit, and Mason, you can win with Mason consistently. I know he got hurt at some point last year, but generally speaking, that's not part of his calling card. Right. But he also has limitations with the way he plays. So now, and Chandler leaves, went to New Orleans, right?
Yep.
All right, so Jones, Mason, but this whole speed thing that you're laying out there with Murray and breaking the pocket and the Frank Smith aside and next level Shanny concepts and things like that. Jeremiah Love or fast running back, Emmett Johnson, just whatever. Yeah. Would you be surprised if they moved on a running back quite high in the draft?
I would not be surprised by that. I think there's a very good chance that they do that because...
Very good, you say.
Yeah, because I think the concept of what they're trying to do, what we just talked about with some of the Frank Smith stuff, some of the McDaniel stuff that they, I think, have been impressed by, I think it makes sense there. And you also have to think about the future there, where Aaron Jones, is going to be 31 here. I think he actually turns, I want to say 30, maybe even 32 in December. So you got to think about that going forward. And Jordan Mason is a certain type of running back, but I think you could use I think we talked about it a little bit, the Thunder and Lightning. You still need the lightning part of this. And Aaron Jones still has some speed, but we've seen it towards the end of seasons where just the hits and the wear and tear slows him down a little bit. So I think it makes a lot of sense for the continued investment in that position. And I would not be surprised if one of those top 100 picks is on a running back.
Interesting. So, yeah, we'll deal with, would they keep this guy or would they keep that guy, even though this guy's here under this redone contract, all that. That's for another time. Offensive lineman Ryan Van DeMark. Swing lineman from the Bills. Ben wrote, was attained, quote, with a savvy bit of pricing from Rob Brzezinski and crew, end quote. What does that mean?
Yeah, so this was an interesting one because the Bills, from my understanding, wanted to keep him and obviously had put the RFA tag on him. And you're kind of thinking, okay, are they going to let a guy go? Because he is versatile. He's played both sides, both tackle positions. He's still relatively young. And the Vikings, like a lot of teams, say if we have versatility at this position, somebody we can plug in on either side if there's an injury, it's important because those guys are really hard to find during the season. We've seen them prioritize it, whether it was Justin School, even keeping Oli Udoh when they made the trade for Cam Robinson. That was because they needed a starter. But offensive line depth, it's part of the reason Blake Brandel has been here. That is something that it's an insurance policy that you need to have because if you lose a guy and you're starting five in the middle of the season, it becomes a big problem, as we saw with them just about in every spot other than right guard last year. I think the Bills wanted to keep him. The Vikings knew that. The Bills are also tight against the cap. So
they're balling on a budget.
Yeah, the Bills are as well, but the Vikings knew if we put this offer just a little bit higher than they're willing to match, I mean, kind of understanding where the walkaway price was going to be.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what went into this, from my understanding, was, it's Rob Brzezinski, it's Matt Thomas, Emily Bates. That is a department with, two guys that have done this for a long, long time. And Emily Bates is somebody in that building that her thought process, her level of knowledge of all of these things is very highly respected. So a lot of all of those things came to bear on this one. And, it's a couple $100,000 here and there, but it's enough. It's knowing where the walkaway price is. If I price this thing in the auction here, we all do this in fantasy football drafts, and this is not fantasy football. This is real people's money, but it's that same thing of what's the pain point for this person that's going to make them go, you know what? Yeah, I'd love to, but it's too much. And I think a lot of what they did to get him in here was just understanding that at a pretty nuanced level.
Do you think that maybe that's what the Saints did with Ryan Wright?
Yeah, I think
see what I'm saying? 4 years, $8 million guaranteed.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's a guy that I think they would have wanted to keep. I think Ryan Wright was a guy they would have very much liked to keep on a new deal, but the Saints knowing, it's going to be, we can see their cap space just like everybody else can. We can project what they're going to need to do. They're not going to spend this on a punter. So, I think Ryan Van DeMark coming a little bit later in free agency where you had some things settled and you say, okay, we know some of these positions are going to be relatively cheap. We've done some restructures for cap space purposes. That probably was an easier deal to do, a little later in free agency than it would have been right away.
So swing lineman from the Bills. Like what's his best position? Any idea? Like, what does he play?
Well, he's played both tackle spots. And I think that's something that you're going to want because we saw what happened with Christian Darrisaw last year. I think their expectation is in the rearview mirror. Mm-hmm. But Brian O'Neill has played through things. Brian O'Neill has missed time a little bit here and there, not a ton, but you're sitting there thinking about what will it look like if we need somebody else to play one of these tackle positions during the course of a season. And those are not guys you want to be caught in a bind trying to replace. They're both highly compensated for a reason because they're foundational pieces of that line. So yes, he is somebody that comes in as a tackle and again has played both of these. It's been more on the left than the right. I think some of that's been need, but
got it.
I think a lot of it is just having the insurance policy at either of those spots if you need them.
Maybe answered this earlier with the right to change the opinion because we still are we're a month and change from the NFL draft.
Yep.
What do you think the head coach wants at 18 or in the first round?
Well, I think there's a lot of ways you could do it, and there's a lot of approaches you could take. I think adding help on the defensive side of the ball it's been a popular thought, and I think Brian Flores will have things that he wants to do too. If you get a defensive tackle to replace Allen or Hargrave that maybe is a little more effective, a little more dynamic, I think that could be a need, whether that's a guy like Caleb Banks or Caden McDonald. I think those are possibilities. I mean, corner is an interesting one too, because they could use a young, lengthy corner. I think that's a big spot that they've tried to fill in. I mean, Isaiah Rodgers has helped, but
they tried that all the way back to a Caleb Evans.
Yeah. I mean,
Caleb didn't work, but he was long and rangy.
Yeah, they've missed on a lot of corners in the draft. I mean, whether it's Mike Hughes, whether it's Andrew Booth, or Caleb Evans. I mean, Mekhi Blackman was injuries, but they've had a lot of these where they've tried it and they have not solved that need. So some of those corners, Aviante Terrell in the first round would be one that I would keep an eye on. AJ Terrell's brother from Clemson. So I think a corner, even a safety, is a possibility too. If you think Harrison Smith is not going to be back.
Last one, minute, you get it all. Was all the Jonathan Grenard trade speculation hevel, which is Hebrew for smoke or vapor? Were reporters chasing after the wind on that one?
Not necessarily. I think there is certainly interest from Grenard in a new deal. I think the Vikings are pretty comfortable paying him what they're paying him. So I think that conversation is, hey, we want a new deal. Okay, well, we don't really feel like we want to move off of where we're at. But if you can find somebody that will give you that, then you're welcome to go down that road. And that's, I think, where that stuff starts coming from is agent drives it. Speculation kind of comes from there. If the offer came through and the Vikings were able to get, say, a second round pick for him, I could see it happening. But a lot of that, I think, is coming from Grenard wanting a new deal and the Vikings saying, if we're not in the place to do it, maybe there's somebody else that you could get what you want and we get high compensation for it, and everybody walks away feeling okay about the deal.
We'll try to call you in Palm Beach next week, but if you're busy, completely understandable. Otherwise, God bless you and your family. Always great seeing you, and thanks for stopping by.
Great to see you, too. We'll talk next week.
Ben Goessling, Star Tribune, StarTribune.com. Back after this. This portion of the radio show generally is News du Nord provided by Canterbury Park and CanterburyPark.com. If it's Double B producing, it is Brett's Bits and Bets. But with young Maxwell here, it's about time to get Yeezy with it. We call it Maxx's Musings. It's his version of a sports update, and there they are.
Yes, sir. The Wild drop the puck on a 3-game road trip tonight when they take on the Lightning in Tampa Bay. Kirill Kaprizov, Joel Eriksson Ek, and Marcus Foligno all practiced yesterday and all traveled with the team. It's up in the air when they play, but all three are expected to return at some point during this upcoming road trip. Foligno hasn't played since late February, while Kaprizov and Ek have missed the last few. 2 for Kaprizov and 3 for Ek, to be specific. The aforementioned road trip includes tonight's game against Tampa, a duel with the defending champion Panthers, and a battle with the Boston Bruins as well.
Yeah, that's nothing but good news at this stage of the season with like 11 to go. The Dallas Stars were beaten here over the weekend in overtime, but they still stole a point, so they're 5 clear of us. And then they had a chance to do some significant damage to the Minnesota Wild and their puncher's chance quest to have home ice advantage against Dallas in round 1 by going to Vegas and beating the at times beatable Golden Knights in regulation. But they lost in regulation. So Dallas has been down of late. Players like Rupe Hintz and Mikko Rantanen, a couple of game changers. So they're trying to get themselves right. Sounds like Heinze is going to get some significant firepower and some significant intensity and strength with Foligno back here relatively soon, maybe even tonight. And John Hines joins 9 to noon tomorrow at 9:45.
The Twins' spring training finale is going down in Florida this afternoon, about 5 minutes after this show ends, when they take on the Red Sox. The next time we see the Twins in action will be on Thursday afternoon against the Orioles in the regular season opener. Joe Ryan will be the opening day starter for your Minnesota Twins. A lot of sports books are predicting the Twins will win about 72 games this season.
Here comes MLB, which means I don't know how long it'll take for hardcore seam heads to start complaining about no salary cap. And the LA Dodgers can, you know what? We're going to go out and get Mookie. And we're going to go out and get Shohei. And, yeah, you know what? Kyle Tucker. He's a really good hitter. I think we'll bring Kyle Tucker in. And the haves and the have-nots in the world of the salary capless Major League Baseball scene. For me, given opening day is Thursday, then I'm probably going to get with my Comcast covenant and start looking for the Twins channel right now.
I always love that one.
I'll start at 0001 and I'll head up to the 3000s I didn't know I had. And we're going to win, Twins. We're going to score.
They're in there somewhere. We are officially 30 days out from day one of the NFL draft, PA. That's going down in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on April 23rd is when things get started. Your Minnesota Vikings and mine pick 18th overall in round one. And a recent mock draft from earlier today from esteemed ESPN reporter Field Yates as the Vikings selecting safety Dylan Tieneman out of Oregon.
Yeah, it's Tieneman. Yeah, I got touted on him when I was at the Combine, and I think you were in Turkey trying to get back by way of Qatar. So therefore, trying to hit the listen line or the iHeart app, it might not have worked there at that time. But I'll tell this quickly because I've shared it before. When God decides to provide steam on things, it can come from anywhere.
Right.
It's unpredictable. So I'm flying to the Combine to do a couple of radio shows. I got this, guy's kind of a beef eater. It's a bigger guy sitting next to me wearing Oregon garb. Well, so we get to know each other a little bit, and his name is Atticus Sappington.
Wow.
He was a kicker for Oregon. He's going to be probably a drafted kicker. So I'm like, I told him, what I do and stuff like that. And we talked the whole flight. And then he's like, Atlanta this with your guy, Younghoe Koo. But I think they signed a kicker. Doesn't mean Atticus can't go there. Could be with Green Bay. Could be with Chicago. Those are the teams that were kind of feeling him out a little bit. Atticus Sappington, though, cool name.
A great name.
So, but then, the hyperactive cartoon character announcer immediately is like, hey, don't take this personally or anything, but I don't watch a lot of college football. I got a lot of things going on that time of the year. Like, who are some ballers on your squad? He went right to that guy, the safety.
Wow.
How great he is off the field, things that go into his practice habits. So, of course, I get to the Combine. I'm like, shh, don't tell anybody, but I got an opinion. I came in here with an opinion. Now I just got to figure out how to pronounce his name. So I've been calling him Tieneman. But, yeah, I was touted on him as a fit for this team before the Combine, but we have a metaphorical fly in the proverbial ointment, and here's what I mean.
Ooh.
I mean, we had a retirement ceremony last week, right?
Right.
With Thielen and C.J. Ham, right? Where was Hitman?
Oh, my gosh.
Where Hitman wasn't at?
Hey, nowhere to be found.
He was in California playing in the flag football bit,
that's right.
replacing Derwin James. He wasn't supposed to play in it, but then Derwin James, he got messed up or something, so Hitman had to play there. So, Ben Goessling was so thoughtful and vein opening about so many Kyler Murray offensive related things today. There are 8 questions I have for him I didn't get to, and one of them was going to involve that and Harrison Smith and I mean I'm guessing here, so we're riding discernment, but I'm starting to feel like Hitman's going to play next year. We don't have an official retirement. You are not out until you're officially out, and he ain't out. So, and then he played in that flag football game. So, I don't know, man. I wouldn't bet on it, but the closer we get to the season, then we get to the draft, and if they don't identify a safety high, not that they have to have one. After talking to Goessling, man, about all this speed on offense, and you and I chopping it up a little bit about Kyler Murray, and, I don't know if Kyler is good at immediately identifying man or zone. that is such a major key to Minnesota Vikings offensive football this year, because if he's good at it, and O'Connell we already know is good at putting the right people in good places to move the ball. I mean, if Kyler can tell when they're trying to play man or some form of defense where he can run, he can scoot for 15 to 20, and then we move on for another first down. If they're able to craft that and concoct that with Jefferson's speed, with Addison's speed, with Hawkinson, who's one of the speedier tight ends, and you find a fast running back, the young, fast, bruising running back that you like, with Showtime and or Mason, man, that and Darisaw stays healthy, I mean, that offense could be in business.
Yeah, and possibly D-Hop, though, who's still got some juice left in the tank as well. He had some highlight catches last year for Baltimore. He was awesome. While we're on the subject of the NFL, some other little headlines from the NFL over the last couple of days. The Steelers head coach Mike McCarthy says, he said on a recent interview that our Aaron Rodgers reunion would be a great story. Rodgers remains a free agent for now, but the Steelers don't seem super urgent to sign a quarterback. He's not going to be super urgent to sign with them. But the Mike McCarthy hire appears to point towards a possible Rodgers reunion. And Travis Kelce signed a 3-year deal with the Chiefs, a 3-year extension yesterday with a maximum value of $57 million and change.
Golden Gopher hockey fans, the University of Minnesota has named Brett Larson as new men's hockey coach, replacing Bob Motzko. Larson comes from St. Cloud State University. So Motzko and the team mutually agreed to part ways, and Brett Larson is the new coach of the Golden Gophers hockey team. And Guardsy squad, Guardsy the Vox, he'll be heading to Sacramento. I think it is 6:30 Central on Friday. The Golden Gophers, the women's team, is in the Sweet 16 for the first time in a couple of decades. And, I mean, they hook a monster. I mean, I watched 4 minutes of that thing last night, UCLA. Holy cow, is that a good basketball team. They get the 1 seed of all 1 seeds ever to 1 seed. They get UCLA in Sacramento. UCLA dusted Oklahoma State last night. So the Sweet 16 Friday with Guardsy on lead vocals on radio/audio. That's going to be against UCLA, and that'll take place in Sacramento. Max Fuller led Maxx's Musings, courtesy of Canterbury Park and CanterburyPark.com. It's 11 o'clock in the neighborhood being the Love Covenant at FM 100.3 KFAN.